when they started talking about Cassie's her text messages to P. Diddy, P. Diddy's defense lawyers tried to pull out all of these text messages written by Cassie to P. Diddy, where she's, talking about freak offs and how she wants to do freak offs. And she's she's sending some salacious texts to him, some sexting, and like talking about how much she loves him and, how she wants to do. They basically pull these texts to try to discredit Cassie's narrative that she was forced and coerced into engaging in these freak offs, and that she was abused, and that is why, she stayed with him because she was scared for her life, et cetera, et cetera. They tried to counter that by pulling up all of these text messages and, where she's like asking about freak offs and saying she's down, or where she at one point said that she didn't want to do them anymore, but then like backtracked and said, okay, fine. And, talking freaky deaky to him in these text messages, and they pull them to try to be like, see, she wasn't forced. And when those text messages were read and they were reading through them, it brought me back to being a 20-something-year-old young woman. And I feel like most women, not all, because I know the pick-me's are going to get into the comments talking about, not me. Okay, bitch. Then I'm not talking about you, pick-me. You don't belong in my comments. Go argue. Go talk to some men. That's what you want anyway. But I know most women can empathize with Cassie, 20-something-year-old Cassie, when hearing those text messages where she's trying to seem like she's cool. Trying to seem like she's cool with these freak offs, like she's cool with doing these things, like she, trying to sound sexy, like she's down for all of this stuff, knowing damn well that she really freaking wasn't. And she was just doing that stuff because she felt pressured and coerced into doing it. And I feel like almost every single woman out there can empathize with that. We all remember what it was like to be in our 20s. Like a feather in the wind. Whichever way the wind blows, you go. You're like a freaking tower, a Jenga tower. One little touch and your whole emotional stability and, mental stability just crumbles. All it takes is one person to say one thing and you're like, oh my God, right? Because you have not developed a sense of self yet when you're in your 20s. You're basically doing that in your 20s. And part of learning who you are and developing a sense of self and learning who your identity is failing and making mistakes and trying things out that you later on go, that actually wasn't me. That actually wasn't something that I was down for. And you have to go through, you got to get the bumps and the scrapes, right? You got to get the bumps and the scrapes in order to learn and to grow as a human being. And that's what we do in our 20s. And so we pretend like, I'm into this sexy stuff. I'm into freak offs. You know what I mean? Especially when you're dating a man, any age, but especially when you're dating someone who's so much older than you, right? You're trying to prove I'm not immature. I'm not naive. I'm down. I'm more mature than maybe other girls my age wouldn't want to get engaged in freak offs, but I'm cool. I'm down. I'm down to try it. Knowing damn well you don't want to do that shit. You just don't want this guy to think that you're immature and that you're a noob, right? And the same thing with like the trying to, the sending the sexting and, you're trying out like saying things that you really don't feel, and you're just saying this because you don't know better. And you're trying to, you don't know any better. You're young and you're still figuring out yourself. You're still figuring out your voice. And this is part of the process. And it should be a safe process, except for when you have older predatory people, especially men, because it's usually mostly men. You have older predatory men sitting here seeing you and being like, oh, well, you got to get bumps and scrapes in order to learn and to grow. Let me be the one to give you those bumps and scrapes. You know what I mean? They come in and they take advantage of your naivety because they know that when you're young, you're always trying to prove yourself. You're always trying to, act like, when you really don't know. You're always trying to act like nothing phases you. Like that's part of youth. And these older men will take advantage of that. And when they were revealing these text messages where Cassie's like saying all this, sexual, spicy stuff to P. Diddy, saying that she's down for the freak offs, it's like I'm hearing her and I just know. I'm like, girl, she didn't mean not a damn one of those things. She just didn't want to seem like a fucking noob to her 17 years older boyfriend at the time. And she wouldn't want to seem like a noob even to a boyfriend who was 2 years older than her, because that's how you are when you're a young person, when you're in your 20s, when you're in your late teens, when you're in your teens period. You're so worried about what everybody outside of you thinks because you have not garnered a sense of self yet. And that's why when these older men come in, they are being predatory because they're taking advantage of the fact that you have not discovered your sense of self, and that they can come and imprint onto you what they want, like say freak offs. Now, this motherfucker got you so manipulated that you thinking, oh, I do like freak offs. And you know you don't like them, but you're lying to yourself, because the alternative is for you to be honest with yourself and to realize that not only do you not like doing freak offs, but that means that you don't want to be with this nigga either. And that complicates things. So instead of acknowledging that, you just lie to yourself because you're only in your 20s. You're a young girl still figuring out the world. And so you lie to yourself and you act like you're okay with things that you're not okay with. You start sending text messages that really aren't you. You're sending all these sexy sexting text messages about how you want to do freak offs when you know you really don't. You're sending text messages saying that you don't want to do freak offs anymore, but then you renege and you back up and you change your mind because you're too scared to stand in your truth, because you're scared of the consequences of that, because again, you're so freaking young and naive, and that's what these old crusty dusties be taking advantage of. And that's exactly what P. Diddy did. He took advantage of Cassie's youth. He took advantage of her youth. He knew because he was young once too. And so as a woman, I feel like all women, most women can, look at that and see those text messages that Cassie sent P. Diddy asking for freak offs, et cetera, et cetera. We can see that clear as day. And we're like, girl, we already know you wasn't really about that life, that you were just doing this because you were young and you didn't know any better, and you didn't want your boyfriend who was 17 years your senior. You didn't want your 40-something-year-old boyfriend to think you were a noob. Because when you are immature and young and naive, being perceived as a noob is one of the worst things in the world. And older people who involve themselves with younger people in a predatory way, they know that and they take advantage of it.